All right, today we're going to look at the world through a completely different lens, all thanks to the work of economist Stephen D. Levitt. We're about to explore the hidden side of everything, a place where, it turns out, conventional wisdom is very often wrong. And the real answers? Well, they're usually hiding in plain sight. So, let's get ready to peel back the layers of the world you think you know.
So let's just jump right in with a real head scratcher. What on earth could a school teacher from Chicago and a massive sumo wrestler from Japan possibly have in common? I know it sounds like the start of a bad joke, but that's kind of the point. The answer reveals this hidden architecture that secretly shapes our world, and trust me, by the end of this, you are going to know exactly what it is.
To even start to answer that question, you first have to meet the guy who came up with it. This is Stephen Levitt, and he is not your typical economist. Forget the stock market, forget taxes, he couldn't care less. He's more like a detective, really, using the tools of economics to investigate the weird, fascinating patterns of everyday life.
When you boil it all down, what Levitt's trying to do is actually pretty simple. He wants to explain how people get what they want. That's it. He is famous for just digging into these huge mountains of data to find the hidden stories and answer the questions that nobody else even thinks to ask. And you can hear it from the man himself. He doesn't pretend to be one of those experts you see on TV talking about market forecasts. And that's the key, right? It's his focus on the raw data, not just the theories, that lets him uncover some truly shocking truths about how the world really works. So the first big tool in his detective kit is something we all deal with every single day: incentives. Levitt says they are literally the cornerstones of modern life, but they don't always work the way we think they should. And this brings us to a really fascinating story about a daycare center in Israel. You see, our whole world is basically built on this web of three types of incentives. Just think about an anti-smoking campaign, right? There's the economic incentive, those high taxes on cigarettes. There's the social one, you can't smoke in most public places. And then there's the moral one. We're told it harms other people. We're constantly being nudged and pulled by these forces.
Okay, so here's the setup. A daycare center has a major problem with parents showing up late to pick up their kids. It's frustrating for the teachers who have to stay late, and it's stressful for the kids. So they wanted to figure out an incentive to get parents to be on time.
Now, before they did anything, the economists studying this got a baseline. They measured the problem. And on average, at each daycare, there were about 8 late pickups every single week. That was their starting point. So they brought in a classic economic incentive, a small $3 fine for any parent who was more than 10 minutes late. I mean, on the surface, this makes perfect sense, right? You punish the bad behavior, and the bad behavior should stop.
Okay, so before I show you the result, just take a second. What do you think happened? Did the number of late parents go down, stay the same, or did something else happen?
Get this. The number of late pickups didn't just stay the same, it didn't go down, it more than doubled, skyrocketing to 20 late pickups per week. The fine was a complete and utter disaster. But why? Well, here's the brilliant insight. That little $3 fine wasn't just a penalty, it became a price. It completely replaced a much more powerful incentive the parents already had, their own moral guilt about being late. All of a sudden, being late wasn't a moral failing anymore. It was just a service they could buy for $3. That daycare experiment is so wild because it shows just how easily incentives can be misunderstood. And a lot of the time, the people who design these things are experts. Which brings us to another huge idea in Freakonomics: information. Or more specifically, the gap in information between an expert and, well, the rest of us. Let's make this really personal for a second. When you hire a real estate agent to sell your house, you assume you're on the same team, that they're working as hard as possible to get you the best price. But are their incentives really aligned with yours? So Levitt dug into the data on thousands of home sales in Chicago. And what he found was pretty shocking. When real estate agents sell their own homes, they keep them on the market for an average of 10 days longer, and they sell them for over 3% more. But when they sell your house, they tend to push you to take that first decent offer that comes along. And the math here, well, the math explains everything. Let's say your agent works a lot harder, holds more open houses, and gets you an extra 10 grand for your house. For you, that's almost $10,000. That's huge. But for them, after their broker takes a cut, their extra commission is maybe $150. For all that extra work, is it worth it to them? Probably not. So the real estate agent's most powerful tool isn't just their knowledge of the market, it's using that knowledge to create fear. Fear that you'll lose a good offer. fear that the market is about to crash. They're not necessarily bad people. They're just people responding to their own incentives, and their incentives are not the same as yours. Okay, so we've seen how incentives and information can totally trip us up. But maybe the biggest mental trap we all fall for is trying to figure out what actually causes what.
Take politics, for example. There's this piece of conventional wisdom that pretty much everyone accepts as fact. Money buys elections. And hey, the data seems to support it, right? The candidate who spends the most money almost always wins. It's a clear correlation. But does it? Is the money really the cause of the win? Or is there something else going on under the surface? This is exactly the kind of question a Freakonomics loves to dig into. You've probably heard this before, but it's so important. Correlation does not equal causation. Just because two things happen at the same time doesn't mean one is causing the other. My favorite example is that ice cream sales and crime rates are correlated. They both shoot up in the summer, but eating a pint of ice cream doesn't make you want to go rob a bank. A third factor, hot weather, causes both. And here's the big reveal for politics. The reality is it's not that money causes the win. It's that an appealing candidate is attractive to both voters and to donors. Money follows the popular candidate. It doesn't create them. In fact, when Levitt studied elections where the same two people ran against each other more than once, he found that how much they spent had almost zero effect on who actually won. So, when you put it all together, you end up with this awesome little toolkit for thinking like a Freakonomist. First, always look for the hidden incentives that are driving people's behavior. Second, be skeptical of experts and their information advantage. Third, always ask if two things are just correlated or if one is really causing the other. And maybe most important of all, question conventional wisdom. In the end, Freakonomics isn't just a bunch of cool, weird facts. It's a whole new way of seeing the world. It's about understanding it for what it is, not just what we wish it would be. It's about seeing those powerful hidden forces that shape our lives. And I guess the real question it leaves you with is, now that you can see the hidden side of everything, what are you going to do about it?